Hi, welcome to Ruby's Ask Me Anything office hours. My name is Dan Merrick. I'm the director of plant based culinary, and each week we join our students to be able to ask any culinary questions they might have as they're going through the course. If you'd like to ask a question on our platform, all you have to do is click on the right hand side of this video that you're looking at, and you'll see Add Question here. This, of course, only works when it's a live video. Type your question in, hit the add button, and it'll go to our moderator. And our moderator will make sure that it fits our theme for the day and then approve it to go to our queue on the right hand side. You can always hit the heart icon to be able to push it up a little bit if you'd like to. But we have very few questions today, so we're going to make this kind of quick, short, and sweet. So we'll start right in here with Liz's question on what is your favorite non-soy meat substitute? So, non-soy meat substitute that I pretty much always go for, um, probably 90, especially if it's non-soy, maybe even more than 99% is going to be mushroom. Um, I find that mushrooms have a great umami flavor to them. They have a texture that can be very replicable of other kinds of meats, including shredded chicken or even shredded pork or something like that. And you can even take something like a trumpet mushroom and cut the thicker stem to be able to make it something like a scallop as well. So um, I think that those are probably would be my go-to meats as well. So different ones, like I said, the trumpet mushroom for the scallop kind of a style. I might do like a lion's mane, and you can do a pressing technique where you basically press down the top of the mushroom while it's being cooked, and you can marinate it, do different seasonings into it, and it makes it very kind of a thick steak-like, texture to it, which is really nice. Completely sliceable as well too. So those are probably my go-tos. I'll also do like shredded oyster mushrooms or things like that, or sometimes my taki mushrooms, especially in tacos, are really good, and also in pastas too. Um, you could also do things like shiitake mushrooms and, do a marinade of them, usually in a little smoked salt or liquid smoke and tamari, and then bake them off and make them into like a bacon. I usually do that for BLTs, making shiitake bacon. You can also do that with a portobello as well. So hands down was my non-soy meat substitute is going to be mushroom, most of the time. All right, our next question here is from Bill. I keep having to waste vegetable scraps from dicing vegetables, and many times the waste doesn't translate into anything usable like broth. What more can I do with vegetable scraps? So this is great. I try to utilize my vegetable scraps as much as possible. I do put a fair amount into the compost for the garden, but, in the winter months, I don't do that as much because it's just gonna freeze as I put it out there. So when I'm making scraps or when I'm making soup and I'm still have a lot of different scraps that aren't going to go on my stocks for that wintertime, soup season. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll save the extra vegetables and I'll dehydrate them. Or I'll put them, I'll either use a dehydrator or I'll put them in an oven sheet and just put it at very low heat and basically get all the moisture out of those vegetables. Then, usually I'll cut them up in small pieces beforehand, and you can use them for a variety of different things after you've done that. So a lot of times I'll put them into like a ramen and I'll sprinkle over the top some of the vegetables that I've dehydrated, or put them just as an addition to a top of a soup as well. Basically, what it does is it's kind of like a big pop of different flavors that you typically wouldn't have in those. And especially if you're using vegetables that you wouldn't put into a stock, that could work really well for something like that. Something that's a little bit more potent or a little more aromatic would work great for doing things like that. And I'm thinking along the lines of beets or parsnips or other things like that that are really big kind of flavors that if you used inside of a stock would be too much. But if you're just getting a little bit of a bite of it as you put it into the top of a soup for kind of a little bit of texture and a little bit of, pops of flavor, it works really, really well for something like that. Now, of course, you can do the same thing and use those same things and other things like, vegetable burgers or something like that too, where if you're doing like a bean or a lentil mix or something like that, you can put some of these vegetables into those too, just for a little extra texture, a little bit of extra flavor pops. And in through those. But more often than not, I'm going to just dehydrate them and put them on the top of a soup. And of course, you can use them in a variety of different methods as well too. So I hope that helps for you, Bill. Diane, I just bought a kefir starter powder and want to make kefir out of soy milk, but the instructions just say to use coconut milk, coconut water, juice, or dairy milk. Do you think I can use the soy? So the reason that they're telling you to use the those other milks besides soy milk is primarily because of the fat content. The fat content, the kefir actually helps to react with those, and that's kind of what makes that coagulated, yogurt that the kefir kind of helps to be able to do. So typically, people would use coconut milk or an almond milk, but if the package and the instructions of the kefir say to specifically use coconut milk, it might be engineered specifically to react with coconut milk to be able to make a kefir. You can definitely try the soy, but you might not get the same reaction as you want to. And that kind of fermented, kind of like thicker version of that as well too. So you might want to give it a try to be able to see if it works. But if the package is saying to be able to use it on those, on specifically coconut milk, that might be something you want to be able to do on that, or you might want to follow the directions for. Otherwise, you know, oh, that's interesting that it says coconut water because there's not a whole lot of fat content on that either. But if it's saying to use it on the just juice or coconut water, it doesn't seem like it worries about the fat content. So give it a try. The worst thing you have, if you're just losing a little bit of that starter powder, that's okay. And I wouldn't use the entire kit for it, just to be able to do a sample. A lot of times when I'm using a new probiotic, I'll often test them, overnight to be able to make sure that they're still living and active. So I'll add a little bit of the probiotic basically to a non-dairy milk, and set it into the fridge and be able to see if I have kind of a yogurt-like texture the next day, just to make sure that it's active. So that's probably what I would suggest to do with this, is just take about 3 tablespoons of the soy milk and put a little bit of the kefir powder into it to be able to see what happens overnight when you let it sit. Hope that helps, Dan. Catherine, do you smoke fish, and what type of fish do you prefer using? Uh, I've been plant-based for over 25 years now, and I do not smoke fish at all. So I wouldn't be the best to be able to answer this, but we will definitely forward your question, Catherine, for one of our other instructors to be able to help you with what type of fish to smoke. And that actually gets us right to the end of our course already, or our instructions today. So thanks for joining us, and join us next week for more questions and Ask Me Anything. Have a great day.